want
Now,
to get in.
when a kid is coming to the club on a Tuesday, does he carry his, and do you call it a weapon or not?
Sure, it's a weapon.
Uh,
We remind them that. On a side note, the U.S. Olympic Committee did a study on sports and injuries, and they found out that fencing was safer than badminton and ping pong.
I
Now
could,
think about that:
I could get that.
badminton and ping pong,
Yeah, I could get
right?
that.
Right. And it's a case by case application. If your club is weapon conscious, safety conscious, and you drill it into the young athlete that they have to carry their weapon and they have to be safe, then they are safe. Now, in our club, what we do is we have an introduction program. So they come in for 4 consecutive classes, and we reduce the price greatly. There's an old joke in fencing. The international group for fencing is called the Federation International de l'Escrime, FIE. When we owned the Pro Printwear Company and we were the official merchandiser for USA Fencing, we made a T-shirt that had the acronym FIE, and underneath it we wrote "Fencing is expensive." Now, they didn't like that, but I thought it was hysterical. So when they come into the program, we let them use our equipment. They don't have to lay anything out for the equipment because the equipment is expensive.
Yeah.
It's cost prohibitive if you want to come in and try it. So that's 4 classes. We prefer that's consecutive, so that's 2 weeks. After that, if they stay another 2 weeks, we ask that they start purchasing their equipment. We do that because we're a nonprofit and we have now 93 active members between the two club locations, and that in 2.5 years of existence, that's unheard of. We're slowly becoming one of the top 10 clubs in the country as far as numbers, and we make it affordable. After 2 months, you start buying like one part of your equipment. So now you have one part of your equipment, so you're carrying that home. But that equipment you're carrying home after 2 months doesn't even include your weapon. It includes your mask, your underarm protector, your chest protector, your jacket, your knickers, your glove, but it doesn't include the weapon. We hold off until you get invited to open fencing to start putting you in electrical equipment and allowing you to take your weapon home. And we have a very long conversation with the parents and the children about how to care for the equipment, the fact that it is a weapon, you can't play with it. And so far, after 2.5 years, and knock on wood, praise God, we don't have anyone that has been injured. The
You-
most severe injury we've had in the club is somebody sprained their ankle.
Now, you mentioned the violin with Japan, Asia. When they're carrying the weapon, if they're bringing it to class, are they holding it in their hand or is it in a case or?
So there's a couple of ways that it's transported. One is if we sell them a weapon, we sell them a weapon protector as well. So that weapon protector is a hard vinyl casing. We use furniture PVC. So the blade itself is encased. There's an elastic strap that holds the weapon down. So they can carry that. They have to still be cautious, obviously, because it is a pole. And that is safe. Most of them then opt to have a fencing bag. And so they'll put their weapon in their bag as well. You can range from a carry bag to a roll bag. You can go from inexpensive to like the, Rolex of fencing bags. You can go highly expensive.
Well, I'm back with Philip Daly, the executive director and the head saber coach of the Long Island Fencers Club. I've got so much I still want to ask you. You kind of answered this before, but just for clarity, can you look at a young kid early on and say, this kid has potential, or does it not work that way?
Well, here's the thing, right? I mean, in every sport, you have some coach that's looking at some 9-year-old baseball player, right? And that coach is telling the parents that child's going to be a professional baseball player. And that professional baseball player, for example, that child, when he gets to the varsity team in high school, doesn't make the team. Why? The child had an infinite amount of talent, but no desire. I'll take desire over talent any day. If that child wants to work, they can become much better. There's in today's world, there's things like plyometrics. And so when a child hits puberty, they can enter into the plyometric realm. They can do the training that will increase their speed, that will increase their muscle mass. When I first started fencing, I was considered to be slow. My hands, my feet were considered to be slow. By the time I graduated high school, my hands were considered to be lightning fast. My friends who were Olympians would look at me and say, well, one of my friends, Michael DeSaro, said to me one day, he says, God damn it, Phil. He says, your hands are lightning fast. And that's an Olympian that was saying that. I worked on it. I worked tirelessly on becoming faster, becoming stronger. You know, if you want to, for example, be a bodybuilder, you have to spend time in the gym and lift. If you want to be a good fencer, you have to come in and you have to dedicate yourself to doing your drills. You know, we talk about neuroscience, right? I can do my cut drills and saber blindfolded, and I hit my targets. I can hold a conversation with you, looking at you in the eye, have my opponent on my right side, and perform fencing actions, precise fencing actions, because it's muscle memory. I mean, the classic example is Michael Jordan when he used to shoot free throws with his eyes closed,
Sure.
you know, just to intimidate his opponents, right? And so Michael didn't make his high school basketball team. His mother told him, Michael, perhaps you should practice more. And Michael practiced more. So that's the greatest example. I think that if somebody tells you when their child comes into the club, oh, your child has such potential, they're blowing smoke at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next thing that's going to follow that is, and we have all these personalized lessons, and we have this and we have that.
Yeah.
You know, in our club, we tell the fencers, you can go from a recreational fencer is somebody who fences in the club and just enjoys the fact that they got the camaraderie and the activity, to highly competitive. And you make that choice. And we'll tell you, this is what you have to do to get to that point. We're a young club. We've already had success on the regional level. We've already won 2 medals on the regional level. And fencing is highly competitive on the regional level. You have the Canadians coming in. So when you do these regional tournaments, it used to be when I fenced, it was just U.S. fencers. Now they're North American Cubs, so they're super youth circuits, and people are coming from around the world. There were fencers from Egypt. There were fencers from like Saudi Arabia. There was one fencer from Japan. So these fencers are coming in. What they call regional tournaments today, that's a misnomer. They are highly competitive.
Yeah, I'm still puzzled that we call our World Series a World Series because
Yeah.
there's so many other places. But I want to take you back now to Philip the Kid. Tell us about your childhood. Where were you born?
So I was born in the Bronx. My parents moved to Center Reach when I was a young kid. My father was an alcoholic. My mother suffered from mental illness, I believe, almost her whole entire life. My father was never there for me. When later in life, I was coaching my son in baseball, and we had a batting cage in my backyard, and I was hitting right-handed and left-handed 92, 94-mile-an-hour fastballs. And my father never, ever would take me to a baseball team to practice. I went to like a couple, and that was it. I graduated high school reading and writing on the 4th grade level. I have dyslexia. I didn't know I had dyslexia. I later found out that my father knew and he wouldn't pay for the treatments. My brother Michael had it as well. He was taking him for treatments, and he decided that he wasn't going to keep that up and pay that money. So he just stopped it. My father was an educator in the Middle Country School District. He was assistant principal at Dawnwood Junior High School. And he was not a good man. So I started going to college. I left college. I went into the United States Air Force. I found out that later on that I was actually a tremendous test taker. In the United States Air Force, I made Staff Sergeant E5 in 3 years, 6 months, and 1 day. You can only make it 1 day faster, and that's it. Later on, I took the test to become a Suffolk County police officer, and I did extremely well on that test too.
I'm gonna hold you
Right.
up because I want to still get back to your childhood.
Sure.
You mentioned at one point in your biographical stuff that four of your brothers did fencing also, which
Yes.
means you came from sounds like a large family. How many of
Yes.
you were there?
So there was actually 6 children and 2 adults, so we were 8. But that to me wasn't large because 2 houses down from me, there was a family that had 11 kids.
Well, all the people I interview, if I interview people of a certain age, the families were big, 8, 9, and not anymore. Now, did your father work? He was a principal. Did your mother work?
My mother worked later on in life. I remember my mom telling me stories about growing up that she would have a quarter in her pocket, and we would be 4 days away from payday, and she didn't have any food. So she would go to like to these duck farms and chicken farms and barter with them and get food and basically pluck and clean them and cut them. Um, so it was a very challenging life for her. Later on in life, she did start working. She went to work. My mother was a tremendous person, considering that she was diagnosed with paranoid delusions, but not schizophrenia. And one of the miraculous things that she did is through it all with my father and how abusive he was. She kept the family together. She kept us under a roof. We didn't have a lot of clothes. We didn't have a lot of things, but we had a home. My mother, I give her such credit for that.